Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And today I have a real treat. I have Kimberly Palm with us, and she's someone that helps people that are spiritually seeking or on their spiritual journey of some sort. And I think that is extremely important right now. And that's why I decided to bring Kimberly on. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Gail. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you here. And I know there's a lot of things we want to talk about. I want to bring up the subject, and I'd like you to expand on it. We spoke a little bit about it before the show began, and that is the name Yeshua and why that's the important and appropriate name for us to call someone that we all hold very dear. So I don't even want to use the other name after what I know.
Right.
um, Go ahead and explain all that. You've done a lot of historical work on that, and you can probably explain that well.
Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna give the disclaimer or whatever. So my information that I teach is a combination of research with psychic info or communicating with the source itself, which in this case is Yeshua. When he came to me in 2011 and he told me his name was not Jesus and it never was Jesus, and that name was given to him by the cabal to pervert everything. And I had to actually go and research to make sure that what I was hearing was correct. His name was Yeshua ben Yosef. There was no letter J in the alphabet back then. In fact, the letter J wasn't created until the 1500s. And then they changed his name. They actually changed his name where the seat of the cabal is in Geneva, Switzerland. When they wrote the Geneva Bible, they made his name a satanic name, which we'll talk about in a minute. But his name was Yeshua ben Yosef because there was no J in the Hebrew or Aramaic language back then, and it wasn't added until after like the 15 or 1600s to the Jewish language. Then they finally got more of a J kind of thing. But he basically told me, all of this. And then I did the research. So my info comes from the horse's mouth, the research. And then a lot of my info also comes from past lifetime memories because I was here physically in a body at the time he was here working with him. So I have a combination of all that information just for myself. And I don't have all my full memories from that lifetime, but I have a lot of them. They're slowly coming back bit by bit because our pineals are getting more open as we decalcify them and we move into the 5D from third density consciousness to fifth density consciousness. People are getting psychic abilities, which I talk about in my book, Ascension 101, A Roadmap for Your Soul. I talk about the fact that everybody's getting back all of the gifts that were stolen from humanity by the bad guys. So so the name Jesus was given to him when they wrote so even in the King James Bible, okay, the King James Bible, they called him Iesus, Iesus. So his Greek name was Iesus, which was Iesus. Okay, that was the Greek interpretation of Yeshua. His name was Yeshua, which is why it's Yeshua in English letters. And Hebrew letters, it's totally different. You'd have to look out what it looks like in Hebrew language. But if you put in the name Jesus into Google Translate and you do translate to Hebrew, his actual name Yeshua in Hebrew letters is what pops up because that was his actual name. And so what happened is the cabal rewrote the Bible in Switzerland, in Geneva, Switzerland, which was where they're all based out of, all those elites. And they wrote the Geneva Bible and they changed his name to Yesu and Jesus. Now, Yesu is the same gematria as Satan, and Jesus is the same gematria as Lucifer, because the cabal uses gematria to put spells, dark magic spells on humanity and to cause chaos and destruction on the planet. So everything they do, they use black magic, word spells. They've changed the whole English language to curse us. Like when you say you're practicing mindfulness, you're saying your mind is full. You don't want to say your mind is full. You want to mindfulness, you're trying to clear your mind. It's the opposite of what you're trying to do, which is why I like to call it present moment awareness, which is what it really is.
That's you know what that reminds me of. I just got to throw this in here. It reminds me of unidentified flying object. You're looking right at it and you're identifying it, but you call it an unidentified flying object. So,
Exactly. Well,
I mean,
yeah, and the word
craziness.
hello is
Yeah.
hell. You know, the word understand, you're understanding. I like
And
to say understand.
yes,
But they've
yes, yes.
taken the whole English language and manipulated it and twisted it to put dark magic spells on everybody and to curse people and make them sick, because it makes you sick when you speak. Because one of the things that Jesus Christ, Yeshua, was teaching is he was teaching that when you curse a fig tree, it shrivels up and dies. Everything that comes out of your mouth is super powerful. Your thoughts vibrate at a certain frequency. Negative thoughts vibrate at a low frequency, and positive thoughts vibrate at a really high frequency. And you can actually curse things with your mouth. You can speak curses to people and you can cause them death and illness and all sorts of things, and even to yourself. So when we're using this language that's been turned against us, it's been twisted against us, we're actually harming ourselves. And so his name was twisted to trick every human on earth who is a Christian to worship Satan and Lucifer. Because like the song by what is it, Bach, I think it is, which is Yesu, joy of man's desiring, but it's spelled Jesu. That means Satan. So every time you're singing that, or you're saying that Yesu, joy of man's, you're saying Satan is the joy of man's desiring. That's what you're saying. And every time you're praying to Jesus, you're praying Lucifer. So if you say in Jesus's name, you're saying in Lucifer's name. So I don't refer to him when I pray. I say in the name of Yeshua, the Christ, or Yeshua Christos, which is Christos is how they referred to him back in the ancient Greek language. Or I call him Yeshua HaMashiach, which means Yeshua the Savior. Or Yeshua ben Yosef, which was his name he was given. But when I pray, I use his real name. And so I'm not telling people that you've been praying to Satan, because I get attacked a lot by a lot of radical Christian people who come after me and say, you're saying I've been praying to Satan and Lucifer. No, you weren't purposely praying to Satan and Lucifer. You were tricked into it by the cabal. You didn't know any better. But now that I am telling you the truth, from this point forward, every pastor, every preacher, every human who prays to God and in Yeshua's name, they should be using his real name now that they know the difference. So it's like, now you know it, so start using it. And all of those prayers that you did in the past did not go unheard. So your intention is 100% of it. So like, I can intend that this crystal is going to heal me, and it's going to heal me. If I believe it and I put an intention into it, it will do it. So if you've been intending that your prayers were heard by the Christ, by the Christ, our Savior, and you called him the wrong name, it was your intention that got through. The energy of your intention is really powerful. So if you've been intending all along, when you're praying to Jesus, that it's going to that specific human being, or not human being, now he's he's an ascended master is really what he is. Then your prayers did go to him. But all I'm saying to you is, now that you know the truth, from this moment forward, you really need to make an effort to call him by his actual name, because when you pray in his real name, it is super powerful, super powerful. If it'd be like if you came to me and call me Kim. I'm Kimberly, and I do not like to be called Kim. It's rude to me and disrespectful, because I always introduce myself as Kimberly, not as Kim. I have so many people, I'll walk up to them and say, hi, I'm Kimberly. I'll shake their hand, and then they go, hi, Kim. And they immediately shorten my name. I am going to be less likely to grant whatever they're asking me for. If they turn around and ask me for a favor, or they're asking me to do something for them, I'm going to be in my rebellious mind, because I'm super rebellious. I'm going to be sitting there going, I'm not going to help you, you jerk. You just called me the wrong name when I told you my name was Kimberly, and then you disrespected me and called me Kim. So Yeshua, when he came to me and told me his name was not Jesus, it was Yeshua, he said that people have been disrespecting him for 2,000 years almost. Not really, because it was 1500s when they changed his name. So since the 1500s, or so when they did, or 1700s, I think it was. I'm sorry, it was 1500s when they created letter J and they made the name, and then 1700s when they put that name into the Geneva Bible, and that's the Bible that they've been using everywhere since then. So that's the Cabal Bible that they changed all of the wording. They changed Revelations and made it a predictive template of destruction of the planet.
And
Because
they keep fulfill that.
yeah, they're trying to fulfill all of their evil plans, and so they changed everything in the Bible.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
So people need to call him by his respectful name. If you want to have respect for him, if you really love this human savior, super powerful being, you know, he's a super powerful celestial being. If you really love this man as much as you say you do, if you believe in him or you follow him, then you need to give him the decency of calling him by his real name, not some name that was made up by a bunch of evil reptilian psychopaths. So
yes, who intentionally inverted it in such a way so that it was being used towards someone who would be just the opposite of who you would want to be praying to.
Right.
So even the word pray, I mean, pray, P-R-E-Y versus P-R-A-Y. I mean, they have messed with our language so much. Then there's the whole nother area called legalese. That's a whole nother area. But anyway, getting back to some historical references to Yeshua, I imagine just as some of the stories, just as they have inverted the name, I'm sure they have also inverted a lot of the information or the true teachings. And I was wondering if you're able to, you know, maybe bring out a few of them that are really stand out in your mind that really should be corrected.
So the story of there's a lot of stories in the Bible that have been changed around. For example, Moses was not put down the river by a Jewish woman who was trying to save her baby from getting killed. The daughter of the Pharaoh was having sex with a Jewish man and gave birth to Moses, and he was royal from birth. And he was also trained as a Melchizedek priest. And he was really powerful, and his rod and staff that he held had a big crystal on top of it, because he was using ancient Egyptian mystery school stuff to do a lot of the stuff he was doing. And
would that be druid-like?
Huh?
Would that be druid-like?
Well, it's similar. They practice a lot of similarities, and the ancient Egyptian mystery schools and the druid practice is there's a lot of similarities and crossovers.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah, anyway, a lot of similarities and crossovers. And actually Yeshua studied with the Druids. He went over to Glastonbury because his uncle Joseph of Arimathea was one of the richest men on the earth at that time. And he was trading metals, precious metals, heavy metals, and tin. And he had a tin mine in Glastonbury, UK. And Glastonbury in the higher dimensions is where Avalon is. The Isle of Avalon is Glastonbury. So Glastonbury Tor is actually a portal to the higher dimensions to get into Avalon, where I was an Avalonian priestess in a past life, a druid priestess in a past life.
I was a priestess too, in past life.
Yeah, and I was in Glastonbury.
I'm not sure exactly where though. But anyway.
Oh, well, I was in Ireland in one incarnation as a druid priestess, and one incarnation in Glastonbury, England, as a priestess. But Yeshua went there with Joseph, and he studied with the druids for quite a while. He also went to Egypt and studied the Egyptian mystery schools, and then they teach that stuff in his community anyways, because Yeshua and his family were all Essenes, and the Essenes were teaching druid stuff. They were teaching about the chakra system. They were teaching stuff similar to Hindu, similar to Buddhist, similar to ancient Egyptian mystery schools, and also the Law of One, the Raw series, the Law of One.
The Gnostics?
Yeah, it's kind of the Gnostics. I haven't read the Gnostic Bible, so I don't know enough about what they were teaching. I don't know, but I know that what they were teaching back then was a combination of ancient druid, ancient the Egyptian mystery school stuff. They were teaching stuff from Atlantean times. They had all the knowledge about Atlantis and Lemuria in the Essene community. They knew all about it. They also knew that humans were created by ETs, not by God, that we were manipulated. Our genome was manipulated from 12 strand down to 2 strand, and all the stuff that happened. The Essenes knew all that. They had all that info, and they had everything on scrolls, and they didn't have a Hebrew Bible. That's a big lie. There's a big lie about the fact that there was this Hebrew Bible and that they took it and made the New Testament and they put them together. That's all lies, because the people who taught back then, they have the Torah, they had the 5 books of Moses, but they weren't really books. They were scrolls. Everything was kept on scrolls, and the Dead Sea Scrolls were all written by the Essenes, which was Yeshua's people. He was raised in that community.
The Dead Sea Scrolls were written by the Essenes. Okay. Now, has that been compiled, all those writings?
So they found some of them. They didn't find all of them, but the Vatican confiscated all of the real ones. And they'd been hiding all of the original books, just like Yeshua wrote his own book. He wrote his own book, and the Vatican stole that. The Romans pilfered that because they actually went to Qumran, and they destroyed Qumran, which was the head Essene. It was like the capital of the Essene world, because there are Essene communities all over the world. And Qumran in Israel is where Yeshua went to study and get indoctrinated into those teachings. And they were the first real Christians. The Essenes were the first real Christians, because everything that Yeshua was teaching us, he learned most of that from the Essenes. They were already teaching that. So, do unto others.
They were enlightened.
They were really enlightened. They were basically, it wasn't a religion. It was a spiritual community where for spiritual seekers, it would be like if I, Kimberly, went and made my own community where people could come and learn different spiritual concepts. That's basically what that is.
Oh, okay.
What the Essenes were, because I was an Essene in my last incarnation. And so everything was on scrolls. There wasn't like a Bible book. It was all on scrolls. They didn't have books like that until the Catholic Church and the Cathars, who are monks, were, writing all of the stuff into books. They inscribed them into like books. They had all of their stuff on scrolls, is how they kept them in Israel. And so when the Cathars originally wrote the first Bible, they had gathered tons of info from all the scrolls, and they compiled it. And then it had hundreds of books. And when the Cabal Luciferian Catholic Church got a hold of it, when Constantine and the Nicaeans got a hold of that Bible, they trashed it. They destroyed it. But before they destroyed it, they removed 700 books out of it. And then they took the remainder of the books that they had left, and they perverted everything. They like changed all the stories around and just changed everything out. And the reason they did that is they did it to control humanity and separate us and divide us from God. They wanted to divide us from God and divide us from each other, and cause fighting and cause wars and destruction, because they make money off of war, and they make money off of both sides of the war. It doesn't matter whose side is fighting. They make money on all of it. And they've been doing it ever since. So.
Yeah, that's a real shame. That's money, the root of all evil, actually. Yes. So a lot of the Bible passages and so on then were inverted as well. Would that be correct to say that?
Yeah. So a lot of them were. The ones that I tell people to believe and to follow is you need to follow the 10 Commandments. You need to listen to the teachings of Christ that are in there, because those are authentic. It's just that there's only some of his teachings in there. So they didn't pervert his teachings that they put in there. It's just that they only picked and chose specific teachings and put them in there. So there's very limited teachings of his in the Bible, but whatever teachings are in there, you should follow them because they are good. The Psalms are good. The Proverbs are good. The 10 Commandments are good, but a lot of the Bible stories have been changed around. Like the Great Flood of Noah was most likely when they switched the poles. They actually flipped the poles on the earth. And the arks were not boat arks. The arks were spaceships. So that took people up, because otherwise everything on earth would have been
dead,
fully destroyed, and there wouldn't be anything left. So yeah. So
we know very little of our true history of what really happened, because everything's been kept from us in so many ways. Well, what other are there any? One of the things that always bothered me about the Bible was the status of women. They're always subjugated. They're always less than. They're always, behind a man, that kind of thing. And even right from the very beginning, it was Eve, that.
And that story was a lie too. That whole story, Adam and Eve, there's a lot of different meanings of that story, but I'm going to share just one or two because we don't have all day. I could spend all day talking about that whole thing. But the biggest thing is, think about this from a logical human brain standpoint. If there was only two people on the earth and they had two sons, that was it. How did one of the sons go and repopulate the entire planet with humans? How would that even be possible if there was nobody else on the earth? It's because there was never a person named Adam, and there was never a person named Eve. There was never a Cain or an Abel. They're explaining to you how the original Jewish people got split into two groups: the Canaanite Jews, which worship Baal and Baphomet and Lucifer and Satan, and the Abrahamic Jews that worship the one true God, the one creator. And the whole Holocaust was all about Hitler, who was a Draco reptilian cabal person trying to kill off all of we call those, he was a Khazarian Jew, which is like a cabal, a bad one, trying to kill off all the good Jews. So you got good Jews, you got bad Jews. Just like you have good Christians and bad Christians, you have Christians who are hypocrites and Christians who actually follow the teachings of Christ. They're split into two categories. So people who walk around saying, I'm a Christian, and then they're nasty, mean, rotten people. So, or they're judgmental. They do all the things that Yeshua told you not to do.
They don't fit the profile that they're supposed to. They don't walk the
talk at all. And so, I call myself a Christian because I'm a Christian means Christ-like and follower of Christ. And I follow him and I walk the talk and I do it all. I'm kind and compassionate and loving.
I wasn't sure exactly what that means. What does, if you call yourself a Christian, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean that you believe that Christ died for your sins? Does that mean that you're living a Christ-like life?
It kind of embodies all of it. It means you're a follower of Christ, but it also means you're Christ-like. And that means you're supposed to be acting like him. You're supposed to be behaving like, it's kind of like the bracelet my kids got when they went to Christian camp as a kids that said, what would Jesus do? Every time something comes out of your mouth or you take an action, you think, what would Jesus do? Because we're supposed to be emulating him, his behaviors and what he did. And that makes you a Christian.
Right. Well, he certainly was very good at handling it, just about any situation in the most loving way you could, really. So that's cool. Somebody had mentioned about they changed what he said about communion, and I'd like to go there because that's a touchy issue, I know, but at the same time, it's a little bit concerning because it actually falls along the lines of what you could call satanic or reptilian blood feast. Even if it's symbolic, it still is.
No, it's actually a Luciferian ritual. Can I talk to your audience about this? Because this is such a serious thing.
Yes.
I'm very passionate about all this because the reason I came to this earth, this hellhole that we're in right now, because earth is like hell right now, and I'm here to turn it into heaven. But part of turning it into heaven is bringing back the original teachings of Christ. That's really, really important, to bring back his actual teachings to the world. He asked me to do that back in 2011. He told me, Kimberly, I want you to continue my real teachings. And so I want to talk about communion.
I opened that door, so please go through.
Yeah. So let me tell you this. I happen to know so all of the apostles that were here with Yeshua when he was here are all in human bodies right now. They've all reincarnated for this ascension. And so they're all here right now. And so one of them I happen to know, and that was his brother James. And he told me that he was there at the Last Supper, and he said he never told us to drink his blood or eat his body. He never said any of those things. In the Essene community, they had a ritual of passing around a glass of wine, and it represented we are all one unified body. We are all brothers and sisters. We are unified. We are brothers and sisters of Creator Source. Source is our, Mother, Father, God, and we are all unified brothers and sisters under Mother, Father, God. And then they would pass the wine around and everybody would drink from it. Yeshua never ever did anything but that, because that's what he was taught, was to pass around the wine, that it represents that we are all unified, not separated, and not separated from God. That's number one. Number two, he was making fun of the Romans. He took a glass of wine and he spilled it out on the table, and he said to the apostles, he didn't say, take this and drink it, it's my blood. He never said that. He spilled it on the table and he said, this is my blood that's going to be shed tomorrow by the Romans. And he was making fun because he has a huge sense of humor. Like whenever he comes to me and talks to me, he's got an amazing sense of humor. And every one of my friends who talks to him, I have so many friends who talk to him, we compare notes and we all get the same info. And we all say that his sense of humor is mind-blowing. It's incredible. He laughs at everything. He's wonderful. He's just wonderful. And so he told me himself about this, but James told me, he said he spilled the cup of wine all over the table, and he said, this is my blood that the Romans are going to shed tomorrow. And then he took a piece of bread and he broke it up and threw it all over the table, and he said, this is my body that they're going to break up into pieces tomorrow. He never asked people to drink his blood, and he never told people to eat his body, because drinking somebody's blood and eating their body is a Luciferian sacrifice ritual. It's a Luciferian sacrifice ritual. And so they perverted that. Because there never should have been any remembrance. And when they put him up on the cross and they have those crucifixes, it's another way of perverting it, because they are the demons on this planet feed off the leash of people's grief and suffering and trauma and hate and fear and sexual energy. They feed off of that. And so they put him on that cross with the thing so that they can keep re-traumatizing people over and over and over again, which is why I wear this cross from the south of France. This is from Saint-Maurice-sur-la-Mer, or de la Mer, which is St. Mary's by the sea, because the three Marys landed in this little village in the south of France in the Mediterranean, and they created, the anchor represents hope, the heart represents love, and the cross is faith. And it's just the cross, and Yeshua is not on that cross suffering. Why? Because every time we look at him up there bleeding and suffering, we're suffering, and we're getting traumatized. Little children look at that, and it's horribly traumatic and scary to them. I've been counseling people for years and years and years. And some of the people I've counseled came out of the Catholic Church, and they were horribly traumatized as children by that whole thing. Horribly. And some of them were traumatized by the baptism ritual too. Horribly traumatized.
When you see, you walk into the church of that nature, and you see right up there is why would someone want to be remembered dying on a cross, suffering? Mm-hmm. Why would anyone want to even be remembered that way?
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't. He didn't want to be remembered that way. Exactly. He wanted his teachings to be remembered. He wants us to do what he said to do, which is to be loving, kind, compassionate, forgiving, respectful. Do not gossip. Do not be hateful. Do not be jealous. Do not, follow the 10 commandments. He did, all of those things. That's what we're supposed to be doing every day of our lives. We're supposed to be loving, kind, compassionate human beings. And majority of the humans on this planet are walking around, excuse my language, total assholes. They're rude to each other. They're mean. They're disrespectful. If somebody's laying on the sidewalk, they step on them and walk right over them. People are hateful on this planet, like so many hateful people. And those people are not ascending, because in order to ascend, you have to be 5D love consciousness, and you have to vibrate at 528 hertz love frequency or higher. And those people who are acting this way are vibrating in the 300, 400 range, and they will not be able to ascend unless they get down on their knees and ask Creator for forgiveness for sinning and against humanity and harming humanity, and turn their life around and spend the rest of their life being of service to humanity instead of service to self. All the service to self narcissist people, they're not going to be going with us into this 5D energy. They're going to be left behind. They will be, actually, they're going to be leaving here and going to another 3D planet to finish off their journey, is where they're going. So.
Okay. And you've heard that from Yeshua, told you that.
Oh, he told me that back 2-3 years ago. And that's why I wrote my book, Ascension 101. He asked me to write that book. I asked him all these questions and he answered them, and I put them in the book. And
because I've heard that from other people. That's why I mentioned that. So that's fascinating. Yeah. I noticed in the chat somebody brought up the fact that another thing that happens to be a church ritual is the circumcision of little boys.
Yeah, it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing to them. It injures them. It damages them for life. It's horrible. It's very scarring.
Yes. And people don't realize, and they try to use the excuse it's for cleanliness. It's just like
no, it's not.
Just like they say,
it's a Luciferian ritual. It's a Luciferian ritual.
That is what, and it's I don't even want to go into it. I've seen, priests actually do that. And then you know what I'm thinking about. Anyway, it's gross. It's disgusting. And it's, it never should have happened. It shouldn't be happening, period.
No.
I think there was a time when it made the difference of whether you were a slave or you were a royalty or what have you. I don't know what the real truth.
I don't know the origins. All I know is my boss. When I say my boss, I'm talking Yeshua, told me that it's bad.
It is bad. Yeah.
It's really, really bad, and it shouldn't be done. And it was created. It's just like all the trafficking of the children. Who do you think is doing that? I mean, it's evil. It's pure evil. They're evil. They're like they're an abomination is what they are. They're all an abomination to God. And the fact that they've been separating humans from God for the last 2,000 or more years, actually, they've been doing this for a long time. It's ending now, because we are going to be unified back again with each other and back with God, because we're never separated. And that's what people don't understand, is the bad guys may make you think that you're separate from God, but your soul is connected to God 24/7. It never gets disconnected. Never gets disconnected. Your human brain, your reptilian brain, may disconnect, but your soul is linked to God because it's part of God. It's all part of that. I explained that in my book, who and what God is. And the fact that God is this unconditional love, and it's the energy and frequency and vibration of creation and unconditional love. It doesn't want to sacrifice your firstborn. That's another story in the Bible. The fact that God appeared to Abraham and asked him to sacrifice his child. No, I had a whole video I put on my YouTube channel saying, would a loving God ask you to sacrifice your firstborn? No. The God I worship is unconditional love and creation, and it just keeps creating, and it expands all time, space, and dimension.
And why would a loving God, why would a creator of all that is, why would they need any of that?
No, I mean, and they don't need worshiping either.
Exactly, that's what I was getting at. They don't need worshiping.
They don't need that. They're not that God that created us.
They're not envious. They're not jealous. They're not a jealous God. You don't have to fear God. I mean, so many of the things that they have taught people.
No fear. Really. So the whole Bible tells you that God is jealous. God is envious. God, you have to fear God. God is going to blow your village up with a lightning bolt, like Sodom and Gomorrah, if you don't do this and that. Sodom and Gomorrah were actually destroyed by extraterrestrials with laser beams technology. So,
okay, yeah. It was nuclear, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nuclear, all right. But they brought it on themselves because they were being total jerks. They were doing really nasty, horrible things there, and they brought it on with their energy, frequency, and vibration of nastiness. Mm-hmm. So if the whole population of people is all evil and perverted and nasty, guess what happens? You attract destruction to you, because it's law of attraction. We attract everything. If you are pure love and you're compassionate and kind, you're going to attract love and compassionate and kindness. If you're a total a-hole 24/7 and you get together with a whole community of people who are the same, that whole community is going to just self-destruct. It's going to self-destruct. It's all energy, frequency, and vibration. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So what about the scenes? What about diet? I'm gonna have to throw
So
that
the
out there.
Essenes ate a vegetarian diet.
Mhm.
And unless they were out traveling the world, like when Yeshua was traveling, if he was somewhere and there weren't vegetables, like when you're in the UK or somewhere like that, where it's winter and all you have is meat, you know, it's that or die, right? So if they went
Right.
and they traveled or went somewhere and all they had to eat was some meat, then they were going to eat it to survive. But they ate a vegetarian diet. Also, females and males were treated equal. Women were leaders in the Essene community. You know, women were not beneath men. They weren't sexual objects at all. Everybody gave away all their possessions and they put them in a communal like vault. Basically, everybody shared, everybody farmed together, everybody prayed together. They took baths every day. They were into cleanliness, so every day they had to bathe. And the white robe that Yeshua wore, you had to go through all the years of Essene schooling to earn that white robe. So you wore your normal brown or whatever red clothes or brown clothes or whatever color clothes you came into the community with until you graduated their schooling, all of their levels of schooling. And then you were awarded the white robe of purity. It represented holiness and purity, you know, man of God, woman of God. But women and men were equal. The women got Mary Magdalene, who actually her name was Miriam. That's another name that was changed by the bad guys. Her name was Miriam, and so was Miriam, mother of God. They were all Miriam, not Mary. Miriam Magdalene, she was an Essene. Mother Mary, Miriam, she was an Essene. They were all Essenes, and they all went through the same schools. Mother Mary was a high priestess, you know, in the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, and so was Mary Magdalene. They were all trained they were trained in Zoroastrianism, Melchizedek order, because the Essene was based on Zoroastrian religion, which was like the first religion that was like the closest religion to what we should all be practicing on earth, honestly. Like the best religion, if everyone worldwide was going to practice a religion, which we really shouldn't, it should just be about spirituality and connection to God.
Exactly.
Zoroastrianism was probably the most purest religion, and that predecessed Judaism and Christianity.
What was it called?
Zoroastrians.
Yeah, starts with a Z.
I don't know how to spell it. It's like Z-O-A-R.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it.
Zoroaster. They worship. Yeah,
I haven't actually studied that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, but they studied the stars. Like the three guys that came to visit Yeshua, they were not kings. They were actually one of them was a Melchizedek priest. One of them was a yogi from India. One of them was from like Iran, and he was like a Melchizedek priest or something. But they were all like Zoroastrians and astronomers. They studied astronomy, and that's how they found him. And they knew who he was and why he was born, because in their religion or in their practice, their spiritual practice, they had been studying, they had prophecies of the Christ for thousands of years. Like they all were expecting him to come. They knew where he was going to be. They knew everything. In fact, the Essene community knew that Miriam was going to be the mother of Christ way before she ever was. The minute she was born, they knew who she was and what she was here for, because the Essenes knew all of that.
Were they heavy meditators and
yeah, they meditated every day. They did chakra healing. So they were also famous as healers. The Essenes all did the healing work that Yeshua did. It wasn't just him that would touch somebody and heal them. His whole community did that. They were all trained healers. They used kind of like a qigong like or chakra kind of like healing, you know, kind of what people call maybe Reiki or something, but I call it more qigong, where you make the energy ball and you use the energy and you focus it. That's the kind of healing that they did. And I was born into this life automatically knowing how to do that, like how to put my hands on someone, because I did it the last time I was here. So I just knew that.
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody said first time.
Yeah, I was just reading. I'm sorry. That was an interesting chat. The first time I saw him, I asked, "Why have you come to me?" He said, "We are many, but of the same source." he said more. And yes, he is very, very funny. That is someone who has Yeshua come to them as well.
So Buddhism, so I want people to understand, because somebody commented about being a Buddhist. So Buddha and Jesus are not only teaching the same things, they teach exactly the same thing. They're kind of brothers in what's called Christ consciousness. They're both part of Christ consciousness. And Yeshua has actually told several of my friends, the Buddha is actually 2 levels higher than him. So Buddha he is very sacred, and all of the stuff that they were teaching, and Yeshua meditated every single day, because in the Essene community, you had to meditate for a certain period of time every day. It was part of your spiritual work that you did. You did learning, you did prayer as a group, you did singing, music, like sound healing. They use sound healing, and
Wow,
they
can
use
you imagine
meditation.
if people would do that today? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to be part of that community again. In fact, my goal is to bring back all the Essene teachings to the planet that were killed by the Cabal. So I got to tell everybody about this, because it's super exciting. So this is all history. A lot of this stuff I'm telling you, you can actually do the digging and the research and prove that what I'm saying is true. Like, you can go to gematrix.org and see that his name was changed to Lucifer. You know, you can see the numbers. You can put in the name Lucifer and put in the name Jesus and see the numbers are the same. I'm not telling you any weird stuff or woo-woo stuff. Like, you can literally go and research all this and find it yourself. But the thing is the Cathars were started by Mary Magdalene. So the 2 Marys, actually 3 Marys. So Mary, mother of Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and Mary, mother of St. John the Baptist, got on a boat with Joseph of Arimathea, a bunch of the apostles, a bunch of Yeshua siblings and whatnot. And they went down and they landed in this place where this cross came from. Okay. Saint Maurice de la Mer. Okay. In the south of France. They landed there. That is where they built the first church. And it was called the Way. It wasn't called the Christian church. It was called the Way. And Mary Magdalene and her brother Lazarus and sister Martha started the Cathar tradition. And the Cathars were the first Christian monks, the first ones that worshiped Christ and followed Christ, and started writing all of the books, and they created the first Bible. The Catholic Church gathered them all up and put them to death, just like they did the Knight Templars, because the Knight Templars knew the true history of the Catholic Church, knew how evil they were, knew that Mary Magdalene was the twin flame of Christ, and that they had 2 daughters together. Knew all of that. So the chalice, you know, the cup that they were protecting wasn't really a cup. It was the bloodline of Christ. And so that's really important to know. And so what's really, really cool is when they went to murder the last Cathar, he made a prophecy. He quoted a prophecy, and his prophecy was that in the year 2021, last year, that the Cathars would be back here again teaching. What do you think I am? What do you think I've been doing for the last couple of years? I'm one of them that came back, a whole bunch of us. It's not just me. We're all finding each other. We're all finding each other.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, people are finding each other. Light workers are finding each other. And it's the lions, so to speak, that need to get together, of the awake group, to really kick things up a few notches. I just kicked us up into the 5th. I'm ready to go. So the more people that you know, and it's exciting to hear you say that all of the disciples are here, basically embodied.
They are. They're all here, all the disciples. So there were apostles and there are disciples, and something else everybody needs to know. They lied about the number of disciples. They said there were 12, because 12 plus Yeshua makes 13, which is a witch's coven. It's all about dark magic rituals. So there were actually 20. There were actually 20 apostles, and 5 of them were women. 5 of them were women. One of those was Mary Magdalene. Okay. And then the other 4 were other women that were part of the apostles, but there were 15 men and 5 women apostles. And then there were disciples. Now the disciples were all his followers who, after he ascended, they went and spread Christianity all over the world, because 20 people are not going to spread a huge religion all over the world to millions of people. That's not possible. So it was actually, he had 180 or something disciples that scattered around the world teaching Christianity. So all of those people are also back in bodies now, and I've been finding them like crazy. I've been running into them and reconnecting with them. So everyone's here now. The only ones not here is he's not in a body, and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary are not in bodies. And the reason they're not in bodies is because if they were, they would be killed by the bad guys in 5 seconds.
So are the bad guys being taken down, or are we?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to follow Elena Danon's channel, she'll tell you from a galactic
I do.
perspective.
I've had her on my show.
Yeah.
I like Elena a lot. There were a number of them that were supposed to have left from Antarctica, and it didn't seem like that really. I don't know if it was only a partial leaving.
I think a lot of them left that way. I think there's still some around here, and they are still trying to round up what they call the shapeshifters because they're really hard to find. So there's some of them that are shapeshifters. They can change their looks or change into something, and they're really hard to find them. Really hard to find them
anytime they need to.
Yeah, and there's some that are still hiding in tunnels. They've only cleared out, I think, 80% of the tunnels. I think even Gene Decode said this recently. There's still like a 20% left that they're trying to clear. So
well, that was so. Well, I guess I wanted to hear you define the difference between apostle and disciple.
Oh, well, the apostles were the main group that were with him and did all his teachings. They were like his main teachers that went with him everywhere and did all the major teaching. But then the disciples were people who were kind of his groupies, really. You know, they followed him and they listened to him and learned from him. The apostles were a higher up level, I guess you can say, than that.
Okay. More actively involved in the preaching or teaching.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They were like his immediate crew. So it would be like Mr. T and his inner circle. It would be similar to that. Okay. So similar to Mr. T and his inner circle. So Christ had an inner circle of these guys that were with him, and you know they were the ones that went into the war room and said, okay, we're going to this country next, and then we're going here, and we're going to preach over here. And I mean, they made all the plans and they did everything. So there were 20 of them. There were 5 women, 15 men, and then there were all the disciples. And the disciples are the people who studied from him, learned from him, and then after he died, they spread his word far and wide, whatever they can do. A lot of them were rounded up and fed to lions. They were murdered. They were jailed. You know, they died terrible deaths. I have had multiple clients who have past life memories, or they've done past life regressions where they saw themselves dying horrible deaths because they were one of the apostles or they were one of the disciples, and they were fed to lions or they were put on a cross, or they, you know, a lot of them have these memories coming back. It's terrible. But
horrible things that were done. Yeah. Unbelievable how ugly man can be. But is it I don't think humans are that way naturally. I think that they have been programmed. They have been mind controlled. They have been genetically altered in such a way that it has affected them in many negative ways. And even if they get rid of I don't know if they'll ever get rid of all the demons, but even if they get rid of a vast majority of the malevolent ETs, what about all the minions? You know, the people that have...
Well, they're still on the planet. We have tons of minions. Now, what's going to happen is as the Earth ascends, in order to stay here on the planet, you have to maintain that love frequency and higher, which means service to others, loving, kind, compassionate person. So all of these malevolent beings, even the demons, Yeshua told me the demons are all leaving here. They're all leaving here. Now, there's always going to be humans doing nasty things to each other, because in order to have a learning, because Earth is a classroom. This is a big classroom we're here in. You come from heaven, and heaven, everything is perfect. Everything is love and light and perfect. On Earth, in order to have learning experiences, you're going to have some opposition. You're going to have some evil. But let me tell you, Gail, the thing is being turned over. Okay. So it used to be that 80%, it was supposed to be 80% good, 20% bad on the planet. And you always need 20% bad so that you have learning experiences. Okay. But then the Draco reptilians and the Greys came here and put us into the matrix, locked us down. Satan and Lucifer, of course, came first. 26,000 years ago, and they locked down the planet. They destroyed Atlantis and Lemuria, and they locked down the planet, put us in a matrix where people are trapped and they're recycling souls over and over again. What that matrix was freed, we were freed from that in December 2019. That was removed. Okay.
Okay.
And so there is no
I've heard
more
that.
matrix. It was obliterated. They actually use this thing called Hammer of Odin or Hammer of Thor or something like that. The ETs use some technology to destroy the matrix, the false matrix that's
False
around the planet.
reality,
Yeah.
simulation, like we're in a
Yeah. The whole
simulation.
simulation. So it doesn't exist. And so all the souls are like free to go home now because they were trapped here, for a long time.
Mm.
So what's happening is as we go higher and higher into the frequencies, because we have the Schumann resonance, we've got these what are called solar flashes that have been happening. We had a big one in December 2020 that up leveled Earth. Earth itself has already transitioned to 5D. She's just waiting for the humans. The majority of the humans are 3 and 4D right now, but then there's
Poor
you and
guy.
I who are 5D. We're already there. So all of the awake people who are loving awake people are we're already heading into 5D. Okay. The 3 and 4D are these other people and they're coming. So what's going to happen is
I think
there's
I
going to
get
be
it.
some huge earth shifts. There will be some huge earth shifts in the
Mm-hmm.
coming year or two
Mm-hmm.
that will purge out of the planet anything that is lower than the love frequency. So if it's a demon, they're going to be gone. If they're a nasty person, they're going to be gone. People who come after me and attack me on my videos and say rude stuff, I just laugh because I know that those people won't exist on my planet in another year or two. So I just laugh at them. It's like, fine, keep attacking me. The joke's on you because you don't get to stay on my planet. Yay.
Yeah, really. I just got to the point where I just delete the comment. If you can't say something good or you're putting out this work for no, as a service to others, and somebody comes by and tells you, well, you should do this and you should do that and you should do, and it's like, I'm doing all I can already. The negativity just isn't worth it. And I just delete them now. I don't even like to read them because I'm empathic and it bothers me.
I'm an empath too, and it makes me physically sick. So I have to like literally block it and say, I rebuke this in the name of Yeshua. Get out of my face. I don't want to see it.
Exactly. It's like, I can't deal with this. I don't need that negativity. I don't need to, and that's all it is. It's just, it's negativity. It doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do, the show any good. It doesn't do any of the other listeners any good. It's just negative crap that's totally unnecessary. So I just erase it now. I used to feel bad or think I should leave it up or whatever. I didn't know. But anyway, so much for that. I'm glad that's you do the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
I
anyway.
do. I mean, I was getting attacked a lot, especially when I first started coming out with all of this important information back a couple of years ago, because I'd already been counseling people for years and years and years and years. But when I started coming out with all this info, I had people coming after me on other people's videos like crazy, like lots of people, and I call them trolls. And it started to really get me down because I'm very, very sensitive. I'm super, super sensitive. So
yeah, I know, me too. And it's hurtful is what it is when you're empathic.
Someone said paid infiltrators. Yeah, they are paid infiltrators. So what I found out is that the CIA, or whatever you want to call that 3-letter organization, really stands for something else. But anyways, the satanic organization that we think helps the planet, they actually have paid trolls that go after light workers all the time, all over social media.
Yeah, I've certainly seen more than my share. And I erased a lot of their nasty little comments or whatever.
Yeah.
They try to trigger you too with something that they say, or they try to find a vulnerable or weak spot that they think might be able to get to you, and then they kind of try to twist
Well,
it.
it lowers your vibrational frequency, and that's what they're aiming for, because when our vibration is lowered, we can't ascend. And so that's part of why I have a whole chapter in my book explaining to people how to raise their vibration and how to protect their energy. That's why I'm wearing this. This is selenite and tourmaline. I do a lot of things to protect myself. I have selenite all around me here, and tourmaline and Palo Santo and all kinds of stuff around me here to clear the energy, because we have to protect our energy from getting dragged down. We have to do it. And I in my teachings, when I'm on my channel, I'm constantly teaching people how to protect themselves, constantly teaching protection. Cannot teach it enough. So
that's very important, because at a time when it's absolutely critical for us to keep our vibration up, it seems like we're getting all kinds of stuff thrown at us to bring it back down. And I've always said this, and I still maintain it to this day. If they can't get to you directly, they will get to those around you.
Yeah.
Your friends, your relatives, or anybody, any way that they can try to interfere with what you're trying to accomplish.
They've been doing that to me for quite a while now, because they already got to my family. So my family is like against me 24/7. So
yeah. I have the same thing.
Yeah, my whole entire whole family, just they're gone. They're just gone. So
yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
That gets to be tough to deal with. It really does. And I don't know what to do about it, but
I don't either. I just pray every day and just ask for this to end. Like for all the bullshit to end, all the crap, the lies. Like I just keep saying, please put the truth out there to everybody on the planet. Like just get it out already.
Really. I'm right there with you. I'm gonna shoot, what the heck? Caption.
And then I grab my singing bowls and tuning forks and work on myself.
Okay. Oh, that I have a tuning fork, and that's set for 528, and then I have a gong that does 528 too. I'd like to have some additional taps or bowls, those frequency. God, I can't think of the name of it right now. I've got one right here. As a matter of fact, this tuning fork.
Yeah, Gail, I have that same one exactly.
Oh, really? Oh, wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, in fact, I have a whole box of them here. I've got them all in little blue things, but I've got an ohm one. I've got crystal tuning fork. I've got a whole collection of tuning forks I use.
Fantastic. Okay.
I love them.
What are some of the things that you think that people could do that would be the most beneficial to keep their vibration up? What are some of the more basic, easy to, so you get in a bad mood or you get hit with some negativity, what do you tell people to do?
Well, okay, so here's some really quick things that you can do. And then if you want more info, you can go to my YouTube channel because there's tons of stuff in there. But first of all, you need to keep your thoughts positive as much as possible. And the minute you start thinking negative thoughts, you need to say stop, like see a stop sign and counteract it with a positive, like affirmation, like I am love, I am light, I am perfectly healthy, I'm whole, I am loved, I am supported by the universe. Those types of affirmations are really good for keeping your energy really high. You need to be asking Archangel Michael. The angels cannot read your mind. They have laws that they have to abide by, and they're not allowed to just scan our thoughts whenever they want to. So you need to ask out loud and say, Archangel Michael, please place a protective, you can call it the armor of God if you want to, the full armor of God, or bubbles of protection. I ask for multiple layered bubbles like solid gold, platinum, diamond, silver, Blu-ray, golden ray, I ask for all these bubbles to be placed around me. And then I ask for the full armor of God, of course, as well. And then I ask for it to be placed around my home, my property, my family members, my computer, my cell phone, my car, everything electronic. So you can do that. Keeping things around you like selenite will help raise your frequency. Listening to 528 hertz music and higher will raise your frequency. I know people like to listen to 432, but 432 is not high enough. We need to stay over 528. So you really should be listening to 528, 852 or something like that, or 750. There's like a 728 and an 852 or something, and 951 or something. That's what you should be listening to. The really high 528 and higher frequency music. That's going to raise your vibe up. And then for protection, wear around black tourmaline, or wear this is shungite, which protects you from EMFs and cell phone radiation. It's a shungite pyramid I have. I have shungite all over. And when I go out in public, I wear a shungite thing around my neck that protects me from the 5Gs and all that kind of stuff, because that lowers your vibration.
Yeah. This is a little turtle. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's got a piece of shungite behind it. Yeah.
All right.
And then I also, for EMF, I wear this too. and it's
Oh, I
called
have one of those. Yeah,
it's
I have
called
one of those
Q-Link.
too. I
Yeah,
have all that kind of stuff. So, and then I
yeah.
have a bracelet I wear that also has EMF technology in it, to protect you. There's
Mhm.
a company called Lambs that makes like knit hats and sweaters and baseball caps and all kinds of stuff that protect you
Yes,
from
I
all
have
of
a
that.
head protection one that you can wear at night,
Yeah.
or even if I put a Bluetooth headset on, I put it I put that shield on and then put it on over it, and hopefully that offers some protection anyway. And I had
Yeah.
a wonderful woman one time made me a whole bunch of really cool bracelets,
Mhm.
beaded bracelets, really nice. So,
Judy
I
just said turtle's her favorite animal totem. I've had a lot of clients when I do readings for people and I'm telling them like, where their soul came from and how many lifetimes they've had. They'll always ask me, "What's my animal totem?" That's like a big question. I've had a lot of
uh-huh.
people that had turtle animal
Oh,
totems.
really?
Yeah.
Are you able to see that right away? Like, do you know what mine
I
is?
don't know, like, instantaneously, I'd have to, like, prepare and get tuned. I get tuned into people's energy, and I have to kinda connect. It takes a
Mhm.
while, so I can't, like, instantaneously, like, give an answer, but
Well, I have I think I'll be amazed if this animal isn't in my totem, and that's a tiger. I've seen tigers in visions before. Um,
okay, so if you're seeing an animal in a vision and it's repeatedly, like, more than
mhm,
once, that
that
is your animal totem, and that's how I knew what mine was too. Like,
oh,
initially, I was
okay.
seeing wolves all the time at night while I was sleeping, and I was seeing eagles. I was seeing eagles and wolves, and then everywhere I go, the eagles and hawks follow me everywhere. They just follow
I have
me
some
all
of
over.
that too. I have some of
Yeah.
that too. And, but tigers, a couple of times, tigers, actually
Mhm.
3 different times, I've had tiger. I think it's, either that or I have a protection.
Were you
uh,
born in Year of the Tiger? Because, the Year of the Tiger starting in February 1st, and we're gonna be doing this fast forward action now, and anybody who was born in the Year of the Tiger is gonna have a really good, exciting year. It's gonna be a lot of action for them.
I wouldn't
So
I don't know. I don't know if I was or not. I'd have to look on what how far back, how many years, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'd have to look it up. That's interesting. Now that you brought that up, I'll look it up. Find out. But anyway, so tigers, I like tigers. And but wolves are another one. And
Yeah,
hawks.
that's my head spirit guide is the wolf because they go with I've been teaching people since 1990. I've taught in community college, I've taught at medical school, I've taught in the community, I've taught at church when I used to be in the Catholic Church. I was teaching first and second graders. I
Mhm.
used to teach moms classes. I used to teach skincare classes. I mean, I've taught so many different things, and then I've been teaching spiritual topics for the last I want to say 12 years. I've been just
Mhm.
teaching strictly spiritual and healing, and pretty much that's it. But the wolf is the totem to the teacher. So if you know any teachers in
Oh,
your
no
life,
wonder.
yeah,
Okay.
the wolf is like the totem for the teachers. It's the teacher
I have
totem.
a picture of a wolf with a wolf in the background
Yeah.
of my I do it with use it with some of my shows. But anyway, that's interesting. And I do like birds too. But anyway, that's a whole another story.
I do too. I like
Well, I
birds
guess
since I
hawks
was a
and
little
eagles. That's
little
funny
girl.
that
I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl, my relatives always gave me books for presents because my family is very nerdy. And I was
mhm.
a nerd girl in school. I was a big nerd. And so I would always get books for gifts. And one of my very first gifted
Mm.
books was a big, huge book on the birds. It was all about every type of bird with drawings of every type of bird and explanations of where they came from in the world. And so ever since I had that book, I've been obsessed with birds. I love birds.
Birds are amazing. Well,
Yeah.
and just on an interesting point on that, my 2 oldest boys are from a bird clan, a Native American bird clan. So that's kind of
Somebody who's following us here must be like Harry Potter, who has what they call possum mouth or something, because they said mine is a snake and they speak to me. So that's like if you watch Harry Potter, they call that like a possum mouth because Harry Potter can talk to snakes.
Oh, wow. I'm
So
not a fan of snakes myself, but
I don't
anyway,
like them.
I don't either.
I was in one of my past lives in ancient Egypt, they stuck me into a pit of cobras, and so I'm terrified of snakes.
Ooh, wow. Well, we've gone, for almost an hour, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Um, and, let's see, we've covered about the Essenes, and we covered about Yeshua's name, and maybe we could reiterate that just a little bit on the ending here of how important that is, and how his teachings have been, left out, eliminated, as well as many. I'm sure they left out all the female books, correct?
Yeah. So Mary Magdalene wrote a book. Jesus had his own book, and those have been hidden by the church. But you can online, you can't get the book of Jesus because the only one that they had, they took it and they put it underground, and it may not even exist anymore at this point because the original Bible was destroyed too. But the book of Mary Magdalene, you can get a hold of that because when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found the book of Mary Magdalene, which was written on a scroll, because they found they also have the book of Q. You know how everybody hears about Q? Q is actually a book from the Bible. It was written by the Apostle Philip, I believe. So you can actually buy these online. There's a whole bunch of books that you can buy. You can buy the Apocrypha. You can buy the, here, let me grab my list of books. I can tell people really quick.
Wow,
so if you guys really, really want to read the missing, some of the missing books from the Bible, you can get a hold of the Nag Hammadi. It's spelled Naghamadi. You can get the Holy Gospel of 12, which is really good. There were like 5 to 7 female apostles. There might have been as many as 7. They all wrote books. You can get what's called the Pistis Sophia. It's Pistis Sophia, Sophia. The Gospel of Philip, or the Gospel of Q. Trying to think what else you can get. There's a whole bunch of books, but of course the Mary Magdalene, you can get the book of Mary Magdalene and read that as well. Oh, and the big thing is the book of Enoch, which is part of the Nag Hammadi, I believe. But the book of Enoch is the one that tells everyone in the planet that we were not created by God in the Garden of Eden. We were actually created by the Anunnaki, which are extraterrestrials. And the Nag Hammadi, or the book of Enoch, explains all of that. And that's why they took it out of the Bible. They didn't want people to know about extraterrestrials, but the Essenes knew about them, and they taught about them. They taught about the Elohim and the Eloah and the Nordics and all the different types of ETs that have been here. They taught about that in the Essene community. It was all part of their teachings. They taught about the fact that we were edited by the Anunnaki. They took our genome and they edited humans and the whole Essene community knew that. Jesus, Yeshua, he knew that as well, and he knew all that stuff. So that was all part of it.
So the people that say that the Anunnaki did not create us, they genetically altered us.
They didn't create our original body. Well, our original body were created by the Cedar race. We were put here by the Cedar race. We were seeded. This planet was seeded with beings, by beings from another world. Okay. Beings from another world seeded this planet with a whole bunch of, not one person named Adam and Eve. It was a whole bunch of people. Adam and Eve is like an acronym for the 2 people that they first started genetically altering at some point, because at some point the Anunnakis took people, and the very first 2 people that they took and genetically altered, you can say they were the pseudo Adam and Eve, and then it went from there, and then they genetically altered everyone. Okay. The whole planet Earth was the Garden of Eden during the time of Atlantis. The entire Earth was the Garden of Eden. And I have many, many other psychics who all agree with me on that. I'm not the only one. So the whole Earth was Garden of Eden.
Well, if according to David Icke, in that we're living in a simulation and a false reality that was created through the use of the speed of light and the reincarnation and intention and perceptions that are created, we have maintained that false reality, but the real Earth is a 5D paradise.
Yes,
Eden.
It is a 5D paradise. It is. We're going back to the Garden of Eden. Yeah.
Yay. I'm so ready.
Gail, did you see the videos from Elena Denon, where she talks about viewing the future of the Earth in 10 years, 100, or I think like, I'm sorry, 100 years, 200 years, and 1,000 years. And she saw that in 100 years from now, the whole earth was looking like a Garden of Eden, like it was all like green again and beautiful. And the cities were floating above the land. Like there's not cities on the ground anymore. They're floating because nothing is disturbing Mother Gaia anymore. Like we're interacting, we're like cohabitating with her in a very friendly way. We're not cutting down entire forests to build cities anymore and that type of thing. The whole earth is going to get healed. It's going to be healed.
I can't wait. I want to
and terraform too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they were terraforming it in a bad way, but now it can go back to a good way.
Yeah, it'll be healed.
You know, that's another thing too, and that we didn't really get into it in any depth. And that was about, there's always this big issue about, in order to raise your consciousness, you need to eat vegan or very vegetarian and so on. And that just doesn't work. And
not true.
It's not true, because it depends where you're at. It really does. If you want to be like a fruitarian, for example, you're going to have to live someplace where there's a lot of tropical fruit, and the environment is what will provide for you. Okay.
Yeah.
That type of food. But I mean, and I used to think, well, it could affect consciousness, but I don't think that anymore. Because if you look at the monks who are known for long hours of meditation and very, very, you know, the Buddhists, everybody that meditates and does great things with, they actually do eat meat. They eat yak, because you can't grow vegetables and fruit and so on in the environment where they are. So that's a big factor to always keep in mind. And it's not like I'm pro that either. I'm just,
Can I put an input in on that really quick? So I wrote about Ascension diet actually in my Ascension book. So here's the thing. There are humans all over the world that can't be vegan or can't be whatever. Like in Alaska, the Eskimos that live up there, they live off of a fish diet. Yeah. They live off of fish and whales and sea lions and stuff like that. Yeah. They can't grow vegetables up in the frozen tundra that's just solid ice, like up at the North Pole and that, where there's lots of people that live. So they don't get fresh fruits and vegetables. And then up in the northern, where the people live in the northern part of Switzerland, I mean, not Switzerland, I'm sorry, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, those people, they live off of reindeer meat all year long. That's all they have. They don't have, because it's too frozen and too cold up there to have any fruits and vegetables. And the people don't have any money. They're poor, and their whole civilization has lived off of reindeer for gazillions of years. And so there's places all over the world where people have to eat meat to survive. And then there's people like myself that, based on my genetics, my current genetics, every time I try to go vegan or vegetarian, I get extremely sick and almost die. And I have friends whose teeth rotted away. I have one friend who went vegan and all her teeth rotted out of her mouth, and she emaciated and almost died. So she had to go back on meat again, because some people's bodies need the nutrients that are in the meat. There's things that are in the meat. There's amino acids. We need calcium for our bones and for our teeth from some of the dairy and stuff. So I eat like organic yogurt. Yeah,
I'm eat organic nutritionist by background, so I'm aware of all of that.
Yeah.
And I think people's genetics, their own personal genetics, have been altered and possibly impaired in one way or another in terms of the diet. Because if you look at the teeth and you look at the intestinal tract and so on, we're really not meant to be big meat eaters. But the fact is, the entire planet changed from what it really was meant to be from the original. I don't think all the climate differences were as great as they are now back years ago. I don't know.
Well, I actually know that before the poles switched out, before the bad guys flipped the poles, because it was the bad guys that did that. Before they did that, the earth was 74-degree temperate. It was like a big rainforest. I mean, it was the Garden of Eden. It was this really beautiful, lush garden.
You could just eat off the land and not.
Yeah, because fruits and everything grew everywhere. So people back then, thousands of years ago, were able to be vegetarians and fruitarians because we had that. And also our bodies were different because we were 12-strand DNA and we were made of crystalline. And so we had to eat accordingly. Right now we're carbon based and we're 2-strand and we eat accordingly, and we don't have this Garden of Eden, and there are places in the world where people can't get fresh fruits and vegetables. So what are you going to say? Oh, you're not allowed to ascend because you live in a part of the world that you have to eat meat every day. That, God doesn't work that way. Everybody on this planet is going to be ascending who's at 528 hertz and higher. Anybody who is a loving person, it doesn't matter if they eat meat or not, because it's preferable that you don't. If you can be a vegan, then great, do it. If your body can handle it, then I say go for it. Go be a vegan, go be a vegetarian, go be a fruitarian. If your body can handle that. But if you're somebody like me who you emaciate away and die, then hell no. You just you can't do that. You just can't do it. And people don't have to agree with me if they don't want to. I don't care. I speak my truth, and I don't expect people to believe how I believe or agree with me or anything.
Exactly. I'm same here.
Yeah.
Let's just put that
Yeah.
disclaimer out right now.
Yeah.
What we assess here is our own assessment. You can use your own discernment as far as eating meat goes, or as far as fruits and vegetables. Look at the fruits and vegetables that we get now. They're picked before they're ripe.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of GMOs that we're dealing with. We have a lot of ways that are very challenging to be able to eat nutritiously, no matter what type of eating you're doing. So,
it's horrible. Everything's sprayed with chemtrails now. Like people think they're eating organic, but with all the chemtrails and everything being sprayed, everything we're putting in our bodies right now is loaded with chemicals.
Constantly toxic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to decrease the surface population because their goal is to shrink it by 95%. That's our goal. So they put poisons in the water and the beverages and the food and the fast food and it's everything in the air. It's in your clothes. It's in your house. It's everywhere. Yeah. But I don't expect people to agree with what I see. I even say that on my channel all the time. It's like, if you don't like my channel, then scroll on by. I'm not here to make people follow me or believe in me. I'm just here
or
teaching
convince you of anything.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm not here to convince you of anything either. I'm putting and have guests that have information that I think you would find valuable. Take what resonates and leave the rest behind.
Yep.
Simple as
exactly. That's how I am when I'm working with my clients. It's how I am when I'm working with students, when I'm teaching classes. It's like, here's the information, either it resonates or it doesn't. If it doesn't, I have zero judgment. I don't judge anybody. Everybody's on their own path and on their own journey, and they have the right to totally disagree with me or partially disagree with me. I don't really care, because I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm not here to persuade people. I don't think I'm better than anyone or smarter than anyone or know more than anyone. I'm just me. I got rid of my ego many years ago. I don't have it anymore. So I don't have a need to prove myself or any of that kind of thing. I'm just here sharing, because this is why I came to Earth. I came to Earth to teach people and to share information. And what my boss told me, he said, Kimberly, he said, you're not here to save the planet. He said, you're here to assist people who are ready for the information that you're sharing. That's what he said.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it.
So, yeah, he said, you're here to assist the people who are ready for this. And the rest, I don't really care. I really don't. Yeah.
So, well, that's good. And on that note, everybody has to do their own research, do their own, use their own discernment on various things. What's good for you? What's good for me? What's good for anyone, for that matter? Only you know. And it has to resonate with you. And that's what's the most important. But that also, bearing in mind, I always like to remind people to stay open-minded about things and to think, critically think about everything that's going on. But anyway, the more pure and pristine you can keep your diet, the better. I mean,
detoxing is the best part. And you know this because you're a health coach. So you said you're a health person. So you know that we have to constantly detox.
I was a nutritionist for many years before I started doing this.
Okay. So detox, because all of this food that we're putting in our body, even if it says it's organic, it's full of crap. So you have to detox every day. That's my biggest recommendation.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. We constantly have to detox because every day we're exposed to toxins. It's non-ending. Yeah. And so whatever you can do in that regard to eat as clean as possible. And there are different ways of doing that. Anyway, I think we have had a wonderful discussion, Kimberly, and I think we've brought forward some very important information about Yeshua.
Yes.
Yeshua. We love you, Yeshua. And
or you can call him Christos or Christ. You can call him Christ. You can call him Hamashiach or the Savior or whatever you want to call him. Yeah.
I like Yeshua myself, but anyway.
Yeah. But it's the intention. Just remember, people. Yeah. So any of you who are sitting here going, oh my gosh, I prayed to Jesus, so I've been praying to Satan. No. If your intention was on that guy, then that's where your prayers were heard. Okay. They were heard, because it's all about intention. But at the same time, now that you know the truth, you can talk to the right person.
Right. Keep correcting yourself until you get it straight, because it's so easy. We've been so brainwashed and indoctrinated with the name Jesus that it's hard to switch it over to Yeshua on every occasion. But anyway, that's what we're going to leave the day with, is to know that Jesus' real name is Yeshua, and his real teachings are very simple. And do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself, or be kind, and things of that nature.
Let's see if your camera, my camera will pick this. Can you guys see it? So this is Google Translate English to Hebrew. If you put in Jesus, the letters, I actually read, write, and speak Hebrew, and the letters basically spill out Yeshua. So anyways.
All right. So there's your proof.
So that's his name in Hebrew and Aramaic, because when he was born, that was what his name was. And it's a Y or YSHA. Anyways, that's what his name is. It's YESHUA.
Yes. And that's his name. And that's what he wishes that you would.
Because even Google says that's his name. Okay, people? Google says that's his name. Okay.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. This was a great pleasure, and I'm sure that we may have enlightened a few folks about the name of Yeshua and some other things as well. So thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you, Gail. Thank you so much for your beautiful smile and your angelic presence on YouTube and the social media. I love watching all of your videos because you just kind of glow. You have this angelic glow. So
oh, thank you. So do you. Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I guess that's it. Let me see. We will go from here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you, everyone who has sent me a card, letter, or a contribution of any kind. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It helps me keep going, and it helps me make sure that I can keep doing this, because it is a labor of love. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Did you see what I put in the little thing to you?
Yes,
when we ended,
111.
my phone said 111. My phone said 111 when we ended.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye one more time because I haven't shut this totally off. And
that's okay. I got to go. Can I check out of here now?
Yes, you can.
I hope, Gail, thank you so much. I want to have you on my show too, and have you just talk about you know, how you got into doing this work, and you used to be a nutritionist, and how you got into the stuff you're doing now, and have you just talk all about you and, you know, what you do. So, and your channel, because you interview some really phenomenal people on your channel. So I want to have you on. So if you can, maybe contact me later or something to kind of plan out like some dates that we can, I keep an old fashioned calendar. So I can give you like some times and dates that I have open, and then you can tell me which one works for you. And I want to have you on my YouTube, and then we'll get more people signed up on your channel too that way. Because I have 85 or 8,600 subscribers, something like that.
Yeah, it's about the same. I have about the same. So
yeah,
we'll do that. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.